welcome to The Sacred Journey. The Sacred Journey is the program that reminds you that life is a wonderful adventure. Each and every experience we have is a unique and perfect opportunity for learning. I'm Joyce St. Germaine, and today's program is so exciting to me, and I'm so thrilled to have Joanne Travers, and we thought about exactly how to share this with you, and we came up with this as a title that we think will tell you a little bit about where we're going with this. A mother's passionate journey to support her children's hearing health. And Joanne, I know this is about fostering caregiver well-being, and you have done remarkable things. And I just want to toss the ball to you because I don't think I could ever totally share exactly where you started, what you've done, and what things are like now. So I'm going to ask you to date.
Well, thank you, Joyce, and thank you for having me on the show. It's been a crazy journey. It's passion sees no boundaries, especially for the love that you may have for your children and trying to care for them. So when we learned of our children's hearing loss, it just set me on this completely different trajectory than I had anticipated. And
So you had no background in working with any children, let alone your own.
No. It was interesting because when they were born deaf and hard of hearing, there are a lot of communication opportunities you can choose from. Sign language, cued speech, total communication, and oral language development. We chose the oral language development for our kids because my husband and I have no history of deafness in the family. We believed that we could develop our kids' listening and spoken language with the use of technology, and then mainstream them in the public schools and mainstream society.
Yeah, and as a now retired but public school teacher of some 37 years, I just absolutely embrace inclusion, both for the teachers, for the students, for those students that have, different. So thank you so much for doing that. But there wasn't anything like a springboard for you. You had to develop it all.
Yeah, it's kind of interesting because I had come out of a master's program thinking I was going to work in global, like marketing, business development. And I was all gung-ho for that. And when my daughter, our first child, that was a daughter, was born with disabilities, she had a craniofacial abnormality. And then we learned of her hearing loss, and that sort of evolved into some learning challenges, dyslexia, auditory memory issues, ADHD. But we can't put a label on our daughter because we embrace the whole social emotional development and cognitive development and support of our children to break barriers. And that's really the key for people with differences or challenged with coping with different learning and developmental needs, is to break those stigmas. And how we do that really starts with parenting. And that's where the passionate journey began, was to help support our children, which led to helping to support other families in Massachusetts, which is where we raised our children, where we live and where we raised our children.
And you were on the governor's advisory board.
So I was invited to be in the governor's advisory board. It was actually the commissioner of the deaf and hard of hearing. So the Massachusetts Commission for Deaf and Hard of Hearing. The commissioner invited me to be an advisor for a while, and that was a great experience for me. That because I was so oral, listening language focused, I sat around the table with everyone who was basically immersed in deaf culture and sign language. And it was really great for me to understand, to see there's this huge pendulum that swings with communication opportunities.
And did you know that you were going to be developing a program for other parents also? I mean, did you understand the breadth of this?
I think it was like like a tumbleweed. It started out with this concept and it just grew and grew and grew, where we were having conferences every year and we were having all kinds of programming that would support the advocacy initiatives, hearing health initiatives, mainstream initiatives, but mostly parent-to-parent experience and support. And there was a need. It was expressed to me that things in the past failed because they were griping sessions. Parents would get together and complain. And so we set rules and boundaries and said to parents, look, we're coming together for constructive conversations and supporting each other, learning from our stories, listening to our emotional grief and what we're going through, helping each other maybe see a vision for where our children could go in the mainstream and beyond. And in fact, panels, we did tons of panels of kids on to learn about transition to college or transition into the workforce. So much of my personal experience in helping from our husband and I and helping our children learn and grow and develop originated from that initial, parent to parent experience, along with whatever else we researched and the conferences that we went to.
And so it benefited teachers too, because we were never trained as, teachers of especially special area teachers like art. We didn't have training. So gosh, what a fantastic lesson.
Like in the States, we have laws, we have the ADA laws, and we have individualized education programs. And so schools are open to working collaboratively with the team. And we were fortunate to secure teachers of the deaf who understood language development in terms of its oral access, in terms of the cognitive, emotional, social needs of our kids. And we worked collaboratively to provide services within the mainstream to support both my children who were identified with hearing loss at young ages. But internationally, that's not the case. Teachers don't have the support.
Yeah, and I know you did a lot of international missions, and some of them I even think you had your children involved. Tell us.
Yeah. So crazy me after, getting involved on many levels here in the state. And I was working at a college, and I did economic development initiatives, and I stumbled across a group from Armenia and teachers that were here in an exchange to learn about education here in the US. And I met with them and I talked to them about inclusion of children with disabilities. And that's what we labeled it at the time, back in the 2001, when I was investigating an international opportunity. And just meeting with them, there was this gap. They needed support to understand this oral language development and how to better support the education, social emotional needs of children, and support parents internationally. And so the idea sprung from my college work in economic development. And then I started a nonprofit called Partners for Greater Voice.
And somewhere along the way, you found time to become an author, and you wrote a book.
That was later. I was like, with 15 years of crazy training, education, and development initiatives that we did in the Dominican Republic. And it supported teachers because teachers knew the families, and there were families who were enrolling their children in special schools down in the Dominican Republic. And then we'd also meet with communities and identify children with hearing loss. And we started a school down in San Andres with the support of people in that community. And we did training and education for them. And so we just sort of this tumbleweed of development to help give access to teachers, support parents in their journey so we could break stigma, give their kids, access to learning, access to technology, access to a center of belonging for these kids, so they had each other to grow with. So we did a lot internationally in Dominican Republic mostly, and we also worked Honduras and India and some other places.
Yeah, you say that like it was like a 20-minute ride away.
Yeah, I know.
That's
36 missions later. Every single mission we said, we need to, I was crazy, right? So that I have this board of director, Mark, and in my ear, he'd say, Joanne, where are you going to focus? And so like 16 years into it, I'm like, okay, another director's like, do a survey. So we did a parent education survey, and we took it internationally. We got like 256 responses, and it basically assessed what parents wanted, and all came back to parental education and supports. And within that domain, everything we had been doing was supporting their emotional understanding of their children's hearing loss and supporting that journey to support the their joy in raising children with hearing differences. And so that's where the idea of caregiver well-being came into focus. And at the time, I was also, I had become a yoga instructor and starting to take care of my health, because I wasn't taking care of my health for 16 years. It was trying to take care of everybody else.
Well, that's a big gap in caregivers' lives, is their own well-being and their own self-care. So I really applaud you on doing
It's
that.
so true. You don't have time. I mean, I think one of the survey questions we ask is, I think 40% of caregivers of children with differences do not have time to take care of themselves. And when we asked, how would you, internationally, a lot of people said talking with another person. Some people said in the US, like reading a book or going for a walk. But yeah, talking with other people. So there we go back to this parent-to-parent, peer-to-peer conversation. How can we embrace each other as a community to support each other's journeys?
Now, your children are adults now?
They are. They're 28 and 30.
Does the careers, do the careers that they've chosen in any way reflect some of the mission work they did, or the caregiving, or did they choose totally different things but still embody some of the things they learned?
Yeah, no, my son's in banking and my daughter's in equine care. So they chose industries they were interested in and passionate about. I think one of the goals my husband and I has is, if we're going to mainstream our children with listening and spoken language skills, we also want them to have full grasp of communication and full grasp of their choices to make their own dreams become real. Let them choose their employment and their university education. So
they chose exactly where their passions were. So that's fantastic.
Yeah.
Stories like that often.
Well, I have to say, my daughter's passion is horses. My son's passion may not be banking, but he has this job and he's living on the land. He's trying to homestead. He loves animals. He loves hunting, fishing, hiking. He's a mountain guy. He loves the mountains, so he's finding his passion through that lifestyle. He's chosen the lifestyle. Mm-hmm.
Well, you and I first met and spoke about something completely unrelated, and I could feel your passion for what you believe in, and I just wanted to know more, and we reconnected, and I'm so grateful that you're coming to share this, because to do something because it feels like it's expected of you, or you must do it, or you might as well do it. There's no passion in any of that, but I could hear in your voice and the way you spoke, I don't think you do anything that you're not passionate about, other than laundry. Maybe you're passionate about laundry, but you know what I mean. You work time, and I really, really admire that, and I can see what you've brought to other people. And I would imagine. Go ahead.
No, that's great that you say that, and I thank you for that. It's about listening. Listen to your body, listen to your heart. I mean, if the door opens, why not investigate? Why not be curious about that door and see where it leads? And I think I went into this whole thing blind. I mean, I left 2 young kids home with my husband, and I went to a developing country and walked through the bayous and met families and went to a culture I'd never experienced. I mean, it's a little risk taking, but I didn't see it as risk. I saw it as, this is what I'm supposed to do in this moment. And I think that's flow, that's life. That's, if you can find that to me is the gold in life, and how you can really learn and grow from that experience. And yes, I learned and grew from the experience immensely, just by opening my heart to this idea and to supporting and being in service to other people.
While taking care of self.
Well, no, I didn't do that for 16 years, but
you
yes.
did it at first.
Then I started taking care of myself, and 15 years into it with yoga, and the tension and everything started to let go, and I'm like, oh, okay. And I realized this is what families
still get a trophy, believe me.
Caring for self.
Yeah, how very important. And as soon as you said yoga, I knew, okay, here's a person that really does practice self-care. Now, I would imagine all of this was easier before COVID, all the international travel and all the meetings and the things that you did. How has
Yeah,
that shifted?
it was really great. A couple of external factors or forces kind of shifted our focus. One was the technological changes with internet and the way people accessed information. We had translated everything hand to mouth. We had worked through the phone and, postal service and, the snail mail and, really shoddy internet services and emails. And things, once social media started to grab hold, it was this explosion of communication and people being able to access what each other was doing. And it was just tremendous. So that force, started to say, where are we going to focus? Because it was just too much. It was just what we were doing was too broad and we were helping with audiological care, technology deployment, teacher training, parent supports. We were helping to break stigma. We were meeting with ministries of education. We were just doing all of this, which was all good, this triangle of support that's needed. But Mark, one of my board of directors, piping in my ears, where are you going to focus? And that's when we decided to do a survey and hone in on exactly what to do. We chose to help support, coach, and enable caregivers through fostering their well-being, their psychological well-being.
Okay, let's come up to the time that you somehow found time to
I know,
write
huh?
a book, Coaching and Empowering Caregivers of Children with Hearing Loss, an Approach to Foster Well-Being.
Yeah.
Would you happen to have one of your books there?
I do. It's a simple little book designed to be very easily accessible, written to practitioners of developing countries or lower resource countries, practitioners who may not have English as a primary language. And so it walks through what I learned through positive psychology. I had taken a course and gotten certified with Holbein Institute on positive psychology. And I said, oh my God, this is exactly what we've been doing, with caregivers, supporting their journey in this way and that way. But then I had the science and the tools behind it to help these families. And so that's where I conceived a book. I said, I have to put this book into action because I can't keep up with this fast-paced internet anymore. And I've got to create a book that puts our program in it in some way. And so then I wrote the book for a year in 2019.
Okay,
And
so it was far along on your journey.
yeah, I was 19 years into it.
Your website, greatervoice.com, I'm going to share at the end of the show.
Okay.
I'll have my magical wizard editor put all this information up. Partners for a Greater Voice. You have posts on accepting your child's hearing loss, starting a parent group, well-being matters, thoughts on effective leaders, 5 ways to cultivate partnerships. Here's one of my favorite. I'm going to come down. Guide or rule. Can't wait to check that one out. Tell your story, share your strengths, guide, encourage, motivate, empower. Time out, parents. Take 30 minutes for self-care. Do I have permission to share the information with people so they can, your website?
Yeah, sure.
Okay.
It's a blog. It's a little blog where I posted some articles and to share with families and people who are interested. It's just another way to access, a way to share knowledge.
It's very user-friendly too.
Oh, thank you.
I think that's really important that somebody won't look at it and go, I don't have a PhD in this topic. It's really direct and
intentionally, especially if English is not your primary language.
And you have done the work because you've had the experience. You saw the need. You lived it with passion. Now we have a few minutes left, and I want to be sure that you make sure that our viewers go away with what you want to go away with. We have as much as 3 minutes or as little as 2. I'll leave that up to you, how you'd like to use this to make sure that you're not going to be driving away going, oh, I wish I
Yeah,
could.
well, couple of messages. I think one is that never underestimate the potential of people with challenges or developmental, cognitive, social, emotional. I think it's important that we not stigmatize or make assumptions. When people are given supports and services, I'm talking specifically with children, then we can embrace their potential and their full potential. Anyone can thrive, anyone can succeed if they're given the right service or supports if they need them. And the second is that the stigma, we can break barriers to stigma just by talking about differences, talking about challenges. And the more we become educated about hearing loss or learning challenges or attention deficit or even autism, or we become informed. And I think that's key to becoming informed and to being empathic toward the individual journeys we all have, and helping each other get there, helping each other, thrive.
Do you still speak at conferences, or would you consider still speaking at conferences if invited?
So right now I go once a year. I usually submit an abstract. And so I was in Italy last year, Austria the year before. I've been all over, Philippines, South Africa, you name, all over the US, doing lots of presentations and conferences on different subject matter. Since COVID, I've kind of pared back. We haven't done many missions, but I do present. So about once a year, I get out there and present. And the nonprofit is kind of, just sitting there right now. I haven't really been too active with it because I've been on to new endeavors. I'm teaching at a college, I'm teaching nonprofit classes. And, again, my heart is open to doing different things. I teach yoga, I ski instruct, I'm caring for myself. And I'm also, in my 60s. So I'm helping to support anyone who would reach out to me. Absolutely. People call and I'm there for them in a minute.
This is just so amazing too, because like people go, "Oh, I feel passionate about this." But to say I took my passion and I developed and created something that other people can use. I now have learned self-care because I learned it along the way. I'm enjoying it. My children are successful, and not for a deaf person or for a person with hearing loss. They're successful. They're both kind of carving out what they want. They're both young, so they can do a lot of shifting, but they don't see their lives as not, as having the limitations.
You can't put a label on my kids. They're people like any other people, and that's kind of the goal, And I think that's another reason why we chose oral education. We just believe in it. We believe that it gave them more educational opportunities. It gave them more employment opportunities. And they're out there in the world. They live in a hearing world. And
I'm glad that you're getting
predominantly a hearing world out there.
It sure is. I'm glad that you're getting to put your degrees in international studies and work to use, and maybe someday you just get to travel for the joy and the relaxation.
I know, huh?
Pleasure. And
I'm learning how to do that. I'm just learning how to do that. It was always traveling. And even if I did go on vacation with my husband, I'd be like, where's the school for the deaf? Who can I speak to that's a teacher who's, in speech language pathology?
I do that all the time. I know from how I'm getting to know you, we've spent some time chatting, that you're going to do something else very remarkable. And when you do, whether it's another book or whatever it is, will you come back and share it with our viewers?
Absolutely. I appreciate this time together, Joyce. Thanks.
It's a pleasure. Thank you so much.
Appreciate your interest too. Thank you.
I'm delighted to have you. So thank you, everyone, for joining us on the Sacred Journey. We'll catch you next time. Thanks, Joanne.
Bye-bye.
Bye.
host, Kurt Barwis. Today, I have a very special guest, Dr. Andrew Lin.
Hello, and welcome to another episode of the Veterans Corner. My name's Chuck Wooden.
Decision for ourselves for this week, if we want to be made well.
Hi, welcome to the crack of dawn. It's Dawn Lombardi. I'm starting the painting. It's going to be the clips with some water. Love it.
He took me on the sets of Lost in Space, Batman.
Everybody has a story. What's yours? Until next time.
The Saybrook Fish House in Canton has been serving fresh seafood, chicken, and prime steaks for 40 years. Experience one of our 3 unique dining room settings, 2 with fireplaces, or relax in our cozy pub with a craft beer, wine by the glass, or specialty cocktail while enjoying a meal from our new lighter fare pub menu. Serving lunch and dinner Tuesday through Sunday. Reservations accepted for parties of 2 to 42. Gift cards always available. The Saybrook Fish House, nestled at the crossroads of routes 44, 202, and 179 in Canton.